just want to reiterate to all you admin folk that we really appreciate the reports that you give us. They're nice and detailed. I like, the format. It's really clear to see what you're all doing and where everything's headed. So thank you for taking the time to do all that. We do read through them, and it's always great to see everything from the challenges to the great news and all the good work you're doing. So thank you for doing that. We are going to move on to minutes, and we have two sets, one from April 25th, one from May 2nd. Can we take them together? Okay, does anyone have any comments, discussion on the minutes? Yes, Lorna.
Just real quick, on the April 25th end of year schedule, page 5, I think if I'm reading this right, it says the last day of school is June 21st. I thought it was the 17th, but I might have missed something in there.
No, it is the 17th.
It is the 17th. Okay, last student day would be Tuesday, June 17th.
Not Tuesday.
No, it's not Tuesday.
It's Friday.
Friday. Okay.
Yep. Okay. Thank you for that detail. Anything? Okay. So with that amended, do I have a motion?
Yes, I move to approve the minutes.
Meg, I got one, and
I'll
seconded
second.
by Lorna. All in favor? Thank you. That carries, and we have. Let's see. All right. Adjustments to agenda. We just talked about that. We don't have any. Public session. If anybody is here who would like to speak, just come on up to the microphone and just tell us your name and what town you're from, and you can go ahead and speak.
I'm Jim Nealon from Woolwich, and I've got a couple of questions about the budget and the deal with ESSER funding. And I had to look up what ESSER meant, how to spell it, E-S-S-E-R, and it stands for Elementary Secondary School Emergency Relief Funding, ESSER, E-S-S-E-R. So once I figured out how to spell it, then I wanted to ask a couple of questions about it, and I've gotten a lot of help to understand what the funding has come in from the feds to help us do as RSU1. And we've received so far over $6 million in 3 tranches of ESSER funding, ESSER 1, 2, and 3. And over half of those funds so far have gone for capital items such as roof, HVAC, and ventilation types of things. Things such as restroom renovations and locker room things and outdoor improvements. The other half of the 6 million, roughly, the other half of the 6 million goes to other items. Now, there is a recent, I'm going to do a quote from the Wall Street Journal that was on the 20th of May. The Wall Street Journal has teed up an issue that I'm teeing up now tonight. And the quote here is from Marguerite Rosa. She's the director of the Edunomics Lab at Georgetown University. And she, quote here, warned that districts that use relief money to hire school staff might not have the means to continue paying them when the funding runs out. And then she quotes, whenever you do a labor reduction in a school district, it's really problematic, end quote, Dr. Rosa. So that's why I'm here, is to see what might happen in our future budgets. And I'm concerned about the funding in those future budgets once the currently funded ESSER money runs out. And can I get an understanding from the board about what happens to the operating budget for RSU1 once those funds run out? That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you. And just so you understand, we don't usually have kind of the back and forth discussion right now. We'll take all your questions and we will get back to you, okay? Thank you. All right. Anybody else for public session? Okay. Committee reports. Katie.
I just have one quick update for the board. I've been looking into, along with Midcoast Hospital, to turn our high school into having a school-based health center. And so I wanted to share a little bit with the board about what that would mean. The RFA for funding for school-based health centers is coming out. And Midcoast had reached out to us to see if we would be interested, and we very much are. And so what that would mean, and in terms of the timeline, is in May and June, I would write the grant for the health center along with 2 people from Midcoast Hospital. In July, they would make selections of which sites would gain the money to be able to set up a school-based health center. In August, they would help us reach out to different community partners. And by September and October, if we are granted the funds, we would be able to open a school-based health center. The great part about this is essentially what this would mean is any students who are RSU1 students could receive free medical care, mental health care, and dental care on site. All they would have to do is sign a form. There's no kind of insurance that's necessary. The other nice part about it is the school serves as the host of the physical space and the one to make sure that we're getting our students as clients. However, we don't, the money is actually awarded to the hospital, who is the sponsor. And so we wouldn't actually have to provide any money for this endeavor, nor would it impact our finance department here, which is great. And so in talking to Katrina and Ricky, our 2 head nurses, they're really excited about the opportunity, and actually the Morse space for nursing, which many of you have seen, Katrina purposely had it spaced and set up the way it was with the hopes that this would someday happen. And so they're currently cleaning out the file room, which would be another exam room. There's already 1 exam room. There's 3 beds. The back office is large enough for patients to be seen. And so it's a very unique opportunity that we're hoping works out. So students would be able to gain free access and easy access to healthcare and not miss as much school as well. The details that I'm not sure about at this point are, since it will be housed here, what would it look like for younger students to be able to access that? In the info session that I attended with the other folks from the hospital, they didn't get into that level of detail. And so our hope would be that at least we could have some clinics and bus students over as needed, but I'm not really sure about those details. But the focus would be to have a full-time nurse practitioner here, additional mental health support, and again, dental care as well. So I'll keep you updated as that application comes out around where things stand.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Katie? Yeah, go ahead, Lauren.
Did you have a question, Bill? Oh, okay. They staff it? We're not hiring our own staff, even though they fund it?
We would work together with Midcoast to hire the person and interview, so they don't just give us a person. We would post together, but they would use the funds through Midcoast to pay for the person. So we would be involved in hiring the person. We would not be involved in paying the person. The person would be paid through the grant, which Midcoast would deal with the funding for.
Yeah, go ahead, Jen.
Katie, would it just be one person, would just be the NP that would get hired from the hospital, or is there other administrative staff? And
there's a whole list of people that they usually fund through this. And sorry, I have it here somewhere, but essentially, I don't know, I'll just do it from memory. Usually the full-time person is a nurse practitioner. However, they usually would have a medical assistant who would help with visits, help set up appointments, and that sort of thing, do paperwork with students, do a little bit of triage. And then the mental health providers, behavioral health providers, and dentists, and occasionally actual physician would be sent from Midcoast as needed. So they wouldn't be here full time, but let's say they might have, 1 or 2 days a month where we know those particular providers would be here. Then the medical assistant and the nurse practitioner would help triage our students to figure out who needs to get on those particular schedules for that day.
I think it's a wonderful thing. And I think it's going to really help our population. It comes with some potential controversy to it, though. Amanda Rowe, the wife of our former Attorney General Steve Rowe, was, helped start these programs and was a huge advocate for it in Portland. But she also came personally up against some crisis in her life because of it, because of what they did for students, especially at the high school level. So I think it's just something to think about. All the medical practices and the things that we are available in these clinics, and how we navigate that between it not representing something from the school. It's simply a Midcoast Health clinical separation from us, whatever they choose to provide or not.
Yes.
Any other questions for Katie? No? Thank you, Katie. It sounds very exciting. Maybe I missed it. What's the timing again for this?
So I would work to write the grant with 2 people from Midcoast over the next month, and then they would choose sites for who wins the allocations in July. And then they would help us find community partners, and we would probably secure who's going to work here in August, September, and be open at the latest by October.
Wow. Okay. Great. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. 8.0 Student Board Rep Report. Jonah and Natalie.
So Morse has had a really busy month. We had, I think Mr. Varney put some of it in his letter, but we had the first in-school dance since the pandemic. We had prom just this weekend. We had, I think, 18 students pass the SELA biliteracy test. The finishing of the capstone program, the AP tests, NWEA testing is in full swing for the juniors. And then there's an exciting event coming up tomorrow, Academic Awards Night. Before Academic Award Night, the AP capstone, AP research, and STEM students are presenting their end of year presentations. It's from 4:30 to 5:30, and it should be pretty cool.
Yeah, like Natalie was saying, this month so far has really been a culmination of a lot of students' efforts throughout the school year. And things are definitely drawing to a close in that regard. I think like all the AP stuff is behind us now. And I think that night of presentations and academic award night will really signify the kind of the clapboard at the end of the movie for a lot of, people who have been working towards those kind of final goals for the year. Athletics, I regrettably have not been following spring sports as closely as I want to, but teams, it's really encouraging to see everyone out playing again all at once. Like those are my favorite kind of days, like the really nice days where all the teams are out at once. And our historic quiz show run did come to an end, but yeah, we did it with the district in mind. So there, thanks.
You did great. Thank you for that. Any questions for the students? Okay. Superintendent's report. Patrick.
And just so those of you in the audience that maybe don't know, the high school quiz show that's on PBS, Morse represented us very well, won their first contest, and the second one was very tight. But just you guys represented RSU1 and Morse High School very well. So thank you for doing that. I know it's a lot of prep and a lot of work on your part. So thank you. Just a couple things. Battle of the Books happened last week, and it was nice to see a full gym at Woolwich and to see the students that prepared for that night. It's not easy. Staff that came out, I appreciate it, and also our librarian staff, elementary librarian staff in the district, as well as librarian staff sitting 2 down to my left. So West Bath was there, as well as Georgetown joins us, which really makes it a nice, fun event. And so again, it's a nice, fun academic competition for our students, and the students did great. The students touched on this a little bit, but it is a busy week. Adult education graduation is tomorrow night at Brunswick. We've got AP, we've got academic awards, spring concerts this week. Main sale assembly is Wednesday morning at 9:15. Bath Tech has their end of the year awards on Thursday, and BMS Celebration of Learning. And those are just some. I mean, I know that we have other things going on at other schools, but it's a busy time. Lastly, I'll just, I know I've said this over and over again probably, but County Teacher of the Year is Katie Clark, who was an applied academics teacher here at Bath Tech. And she had to go through a rigorous process just to be selected for County Teacher of the Year. And just so you know, Katie has 16 years of teaching experience, a Bachelor of Arts in English Education from Niagara University, and a Master's of Science in Education from UNE. And she now has the opportunity to go through another rigorous process to be considered for Maine Teacher of the Year. So RSU1 has been fortunate to have many County Teachers of the Year and Maine Teachers of the Year, one Maine Teacher of the Year. And we could have many more that were nominated. So congratulations to Katie.
Okay. Any questions for Patrick? Financial report, Deb?
I'm coming from way back there, you know, they have me sit way back there.
No one sits up front.
So tonight we're looking at the month of April. So we're in 10th month, 2 left to go. We're at 78% that we've spent, leaving us a projected balance of 1.6 million. And that will dwindle away very quickly. And we should be fine overall, but just to give you a sense of, like, last year at the end of June, we had $1.2 million left in our fund balance. So we definitely will not be at that kind of a balance this year. A couple of 100,000 probably will be more in line with where we'll be at. Once again, keeping an eye on the energy costs and the transportation. I think David ordered the last of his fuel oil the other day, so that's a good thing. So, and as far as our revenue, they're coming in as planned. We're at 83%, so we're in line with bringing all those revenues in. It's busy in the HR office right now. We have a lot going on with hiring different staff and transfers within and all that. So, but that's good. Keeps things interesting, right? I did go to Pittsburgh and presented the budget to the Pittsburgh Budget Committee. Well, it was a Zoom meeting. And so the Budget Committee voted to recommend the RSU1 budget for next year. So that's a good thing. So I told them about the meeting on Tuesday. So maybe we'll have some public participation. Federal grants, once again, we're almost done with the ESSER1 funds, which is mainly the nursing. And now we're into the ESSER2, which that funds us for most of our staffing through the end of this year. And then we will start up on the ARP, the ESSER3 for next year's staffing. And that's it.
Great. Any questions for Deb on the finances? Yeah, go ahead, Lorna.
Hi, Deb. It's actually maybe for us, just so I understand. I didn't catch Jim's last name. What's your last name, sir? Nealon? And then who will get back to, because I know as we talk more about budget and we have the meeting coming up on the 31st, who's going to get back to him? Are you you're going to get back to him?
I was gonna try to get his email.
Okay,
after, and then I'll talk to Patrick and I can get back with him on some things.
Great.
Yep.
I've shared with him the plans
Oh,
of, you
okay.
know, where we're at, but as
Good.
far as what we'll do at the end of 2 years, I'll leave that up to you.
Well, right. Yeah, no, that's what I'm going to talk to him about, because that is the
Yeah.
big challenge. I don't know if, Jim, you heard, but a lot of our discussion has been about what will we still need? A lot of it we don't, which is why it was emergency funding. But what was unforeseen, as an example, was will we still need social workers with all the mental health issues that a lot has arisen during this time? And then will the government fund? So there's a whole lot of explanation, but happy to discuss that with you. Yeah, so thanks for giving him that info.
and thank you, Deb. I figured HR is probably busy right now when I was
Yeah.
looking at our agenda.
Jennifer, did you
Yeah.
have a question?
I'm just curious with the response in Pittsburgh, were they shocked about the percentage increase or were they expecting that?
I don't know if they were shocked. They were, it's hard to understand the larger increase with just a change in 6 students. So that sort of got us detoured on the cost sharing formula. But it is amazing. I mean, I always remember Jim Raya saying it's the power of the variables, you know? And really it is for 6 students to
Right.
cause that kind of an increase. But they were good, they were understanding, and they just like to take a closer look at it before they move forward.
We've been able to bring good news to them for several years in a row. And this year,
Right.
6 more students, and just multiply out the tuition costs. And they've always been understanding, and
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear they were again. There's been some change in the
Right.
committee. But
And I had to tell them that they're having a new roof.
Yeah.
So that helped.
That helps. Any other questions? All right, thank you, Deb. Appreciate it. Okay, now we're on to old business. This is now second reading of board policies. These are action items. Patrick had, when he sent it out, did you want to refer to the first one there about, I think you did a little more work on it?
Yeah, just that the policy committee did come back together to talk about that teaching of controversial, sensitive issues, because we got some feedback from board members, we got some feedback from teaching staff. And so I think we've made those adjustments that they, maybe not all of them, but quite a few of those recommendations.
So let's do it this way. If first, I'm going to ask if there are any questions on, I'll start in order, just if there are any questions on any of these, and if there are, we can talk about it, and then hopefully we can just vote on them all together, if you're okay with that. So any questions on the first one, the teaching about controversial and sensitive issues? Yeah, go ahead, Lauren.
I just wanted to ask Patrick, I can't remember, once we approve these, what happens relative to, like, this one impacts staff and teaching. Does this just gets updated with our policies online, or do we sort of reinforce or let staff know that we've tweaked it and this is how it stands?
No, usually ones that affect the entire staff, VITA sends out as an update.
That was it for that one.
Okay. Anybody else on that one? Any questions on the compulsory attendance? Truancy? Oh, compulsory, sorry, go ahead.
Of course I do. So when I was reading that one, it looked like there was an exception. It says under B, well, first it says a person who graduates from high school before the 17th birthday, or a person who has reached the age of 15 years or completed 9th grade as an exception. But then it goes on to make it sound like you're 17, it's compulsory until you're 17. So could someone tell me the clarity on that? Number 1 says a person has reached the age of 15 years or completed 9th grade. Every child 6 years of age or older and under the age of 17, this is at the top, unless the child has received a high school diploma or its equivalent. And then it says exceptions. A person who graduates from high school before the 17th birthday, which makes sense, or a person who's reached the age of 15 years or completed 9th grade. And then and is struck. So that, I was just confused by that.
I don't know. Does anyone?
Yeah, I guess we'll have to
Yeah.
go back and look at it. I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
I
So
mean, this
we're,
is coming from main school management, so I'll have to go back and we'll take a look at it.
all right. So we're going to leave that one out for tonight. Truancy. Any questions on that item? No? Okay. And then evaluation of administrators. Yeah, go ahead.
I can't remember, is this one new or is
No.
this?
No,
is-
it's just added language.
And I think in there it said that the Board of Education received some kind of report. Have we ever received that? I
Yeah,
don't
last
remember.
year, and you'll just receive it again this year. And
Okay.
Yep.
Great, thanks. That was it.
Okay. So what we're looking at then is we're taking the compulsory attendance out for now because we're going to
Yeah, that's fine.
revisit that. Can we vote on the other three? Is everyone okay with it? Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to vote to pass or approve all three with the exception of compulsory attendance, which is getting reviewed with by
Okay.
Patrick.
Do I have a second? Okay, seconded by Jamie. Thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? No? Okay, they pass. And we'll revisit that one. And we move on to new business. And I'm going to hand it over to Patrick.
So I think we'll start tonight. I want to thank all the special ed staff that are here for the presentation. We're going to start with Justin giving kind of an overview. And then from there, we're going to break out into small groups and go into the other gym and rotate to learn about some of the different programs in the district. And I think we're going to rotate every 10 minutes, but you will get a chance to hear what we do in those programs, ask questions. And then at the, we'll also have I guess I call it a parking lot. There's an easel in the other rooms, or if there's questions that come out of the small groups, or if there's questions in general you have about special education that we might not be able to get to tonight, we're happy to respond back to those to the full board. So Justin, come on up, and thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
I always got to lower this for myself. Hi, everybody. So like Patrick said, I'm going to start out tonight with just a brief overview of our programs in the district, talk about the referral process, and talk about current special ed numbers in the district. Damon, you can pop right to that first slide when you get a chance. All right, so every October, we have to tabulate our child count. Currently, we have 360 students identified for special education under the 13 disability categories. Breakdown by school, we have 47 at Dyke Newell, 48 at Fisher Mitchell, Pittsburgh with 13, Woolwich with 73, but keep in mind with the Woolwich numbers, that includes our district life skills program in grades 3 through 8. Bath Middle School, 57, and Morse High School, 122. So again, there's 13 disability categories by which students can qualify for services. So in our district, we have 37 students identified with autism, 1 student with a developmental delay, 50 students with an emotional disturbance, and that is a Department of Education term. That's not a term that we like to use, but it's just the DOE's take on that. Intellectual disability, we have 13 students. We have 13 students with multiple disabilities, 2 with an orthopedic impairment. Our largest number is 113 students with specific learning disabilities, 58 students with speech and language impairments. We have 1 student with a traumatic brain injury, 1 with a visual impairment, and then 71 students are other health impaired. The majority of those are students with ADHD. There are a few students with medical conditions that fall under that category as well. Next slide. So our special ed referral process, a referral to special education is initiated when students aren't making progress academically or functionally in the regulated classroom. It can be initiated by a school staff member. Oftentimes we get parents who initiate referrals. So there's a 5-step process in our district for referrals, but there's also a step 0, which is response to intervention. I'm really excited that the board has supported the response to intervention coordinator because I think it's going to be a big help to the special ed department, so we really can fine tune the data that comes in when students are referred. So the first step is a special education referral form is completed by a staff member or a parent, and it's sent to the building principal for like an initial review. And then step 2, the building principal reviews the referral. If it's approved, it's sent to me. From there, we started a new process this year where myself and our school psychologists review the referrals. We have to do this within 15 school days. If it's approved, we send home a consent for evaluation to parents. Typical evaluations we complete on students are psychological evaluations, academic testing, possibly speech and language testing, classroom observations, those types of things. If it's not approved, we send the referral back with the reasons why it was not approved. Typically, it would be, we might want to see the RTI process go on a little longer, or we haven't even started the RTI process. So those are some of the reasons we might not approve a referral, at least initially. The fourth step is we get the signed consent back from parents, and then we have 45 days to complete the evaluation. And then the fifth step is the team meets, reviews the evaluations, and then there's an eligibility process. And a lot of that is state forms and those types of things that we have to meet requirements to determine whether or not a student qualifies. Next slide. So our continuum of services, you're going to hear a lot more detail tonight from our staff members here, but just sort of a general overview. Our obligation is to educate kids in their least restrictive environment. So what that means is we want to keep in the mainstream classroom as much as possible. But obviously there's situations where students need more services in the special education classroom as opposed to being in the regular ed classroom. So for academic services, for students identified with learning needs, instruction in reading, writing, math, and writing, reading, math, and writing is provided. This could be in the special ed classroom or the regular ed classroom. We'll hear a little bit tonight from our team about co-teaching. The amount of time a student receives in special education is really based on individual needs. Next slide, please. So behavior support services, obviously the board has been very supportive of this for the past 7 years. For students identified with social, emotional, and behavioral needs, instruction is provided in self-regulation, emotional regulation, social skills, executive functioning. And again, this can be in the regular ed classroom or the special ed classroom, depending on the student's needs. It can range the continuum of service within the behavior support programs from a simple daily check-in with a teacher for day planning to self-contained program where they receive their services all day in the special ed classroom. And then obviously we do have students who we can't meet their needs in our programs, and we look at out-of-district placement, which currently we have 9 students out of district. That number is down quite a bit from 7 years ago. So our functional life skills program for students with intellectual disabilities that impact their academic and functional performance, we have FLS programming. Students in this program are provided academics that meet their needs, and they really work in conjunction with our related service providers, speech, OT, PT. And the majority of these students spend their time in the FLS classroom, but I think the board's really aware we've really beefed up our unified program. I think we're doing a great job in this district with not only unified athletics, but unified literacy, academic opportunities, and I can only see that continuing to grow and improve. So I debated having our speech folks, our OT folks, PT, social work here tonight, but I feel like that's a really specialized topic, and it's almost a different, we'd almost need a different workshop just to kind of review that piece. But those are related services that we provide students if it's a need identified by their IEP team. So speech and language, occupational therapy, physical therapy, social work, and transportation is another related service. So areas for future growth. I really think we could take a closer look at our curriculum in special education and including an alignment with RTI and ongoing professional development, literacy, math, and behavior support. I really think we could take a close look at continuing to find ways to reduce the amount of time special ed teachers are spending on paperwork or completing evaluations. It takes a lot of time and it pulls them out of the classroom working with students. And the last piece is to improve our continuum of services by looking at an in-district day treatment program. And we've talked about that plenty of times, but that's sort of that last big piece, I think, to the puzzle that would really ramp up our continuum. So tonight we have six staff members with us. We have Krista Walker from Woolwich, elementary special ed teacher, Julia Myers from Morse, and behavior support teachers, Julia Darling and Kevin Prager. And then we have Rachel Garland and Jonathan Fisk from Morse to talk about life skills. So like Patrick said, what we'll do is we'll break into the gym. These folks will be stationed at each table. They'll talk about their programs and answer any questions you guys have. So do you have any questions for me before we break?
Any questions before we go over there?
Are you coming back, Dr. Thacker?
Yeah, we'll come back and wrap it up. Yep.
Okay, great. Let's do it.
All right, thanks.
All right.
We don't have time to go through every.
No, I know.
So,
Um,
go ahead.
So welcome back, everybody. Thanks for doing that. That was really, really helpful. I really appreciate everyone being here to do that. Just, do you want to just kind of wrap things up and
Yeah,
if
no,
anyone
I just,
has any
if anybody
final
has any
questions?
questions they want to ask while folks are still around, and thank you everyone for presenting.
Did you have a question? Go.
I was just wondering if we could get, one of my questions, which we don't have to go in now, but if there's any recent legislation, I think Mr. Fisk mentioned they've expanded how long a student can stay. Like
Yeah,
any
age 22,
legislation that
yeah.
we could, just like a quick wrap up, you could even email it to us on how that's impacted our current programming.
Sure.
'Cause I
Yeah, no,
know
I can put
things-
something together.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, Jen.
So at the end of a year, do you have the ability to survey your staff and ask from your staff, what are the challenges that, what are their toughest challenges they've met? And also, do you survey the regular ed teachers that work with special ed staff and ask them what are their, what are the challenges that they face in working with support staff in special ed or working for special ed, just in everything from delivering content to schedules to any of that?
So first part of that question, we don't necessarily send a formal survey out. We do, I meet with staff regularly and assess needs throughout the year. So I feel like we have a pretty good sense of that. But to speak to your second piece about the regular ed teacher, I think that's a good idea. It's not something that we've done before. I mean, we do have teachers that certainly give us feedback on how things are going in the classroom. Sometimes when they're, not going as well as they should, but something to take into consideration for sure. I think that's a good idea.
Great. Anything else? Yeah, go ahead.
So I was wondering if we could get some data on the graduating students that graduate, like how that's kind of happened pre-COVID, really, because I think just COVID doesn't really, offer much
Sure.
to be able to do anything of those. I think it would be really interesting to see if there is something that we can do in the school systems that, as I said to you when training was going on, it's really going to protect that one-on-one. If a student has a one-on-one aide, that person doesn't get pulled. And I know there's just logistics of being in a school, and I get it. I've been there. I know all those things, but I realize that if we have a legal IEP expectation of a student having a one-on-one, I think that we should look at what would happen if we left that, if we protected that, and what would happen if something's not going well in the rest of our school that we can't have enough people there. We have to address that, I guess. I just don't want them to always be the ed tech, the special ed tech, be the person who gets pulled. And the last thing would be, we have higher numbers. Are you allocating space in every school with more space so people can meet and can have opportunities to have places? Or are you finding that as our special ed numbers are growing, our space is diminishing? Should we be looking at additional space allocation?
In terms of space in each building, I'm not, I guess I'm not 100% comfortable answering that, other than to say that staff definitely, if there's a concern about, the number of kids they have in the room, they bring that to us, and we troubleshoot with the building principals how to make sure that, the students have the right learning environment and staff have the right learning environment.
In your position, are you, do you have to be at every IEP?
No, building principals attend a majority of them. I go to, some of the more challenging ones, I guess you'd say, and evaluation meetings, eligibility meetings. But I mean, typically every day I do have an IEP meeting, but a lot of the coverage is at the building level.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, Jamie.
I have some questions. First, I want to thank everyone because I could have stayed in there for a couple more hours, I think, learning and just listening. And I really appreciate, it seems like special education staff wear a lot of different hats throughout the day, every single day. And I think one of the things, it's not a question, but something that certainly stood out to me when you see the numbers for special education at Morse High School in particular, how many IEPs special education staff are required to attend in a regular school year, to me seems maybe not sustainable.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Yeah.
And so I guess one follow-up question would be, how would we solve that?
Yeah. So one of the things we've talked about in the past is just how time consuming it is to complete evaluations, that with all the other paperwork requirements. And, we were talking about this at one of the tables. During COVID, we had an opportunity to have one of our staff members do all the evaluations at the high school in particular, and that did free up a lot of time. So just ways, something like that, where we can provide more time for our teachers is something we've advocated for that in the past too. So.
Okay, I have more questions, but not for maybe right now. We
Okay.
can follow.
Well, I
table
think
it.
we can certainly follow up with you on.
Absolutely,
as people
anything,
have
yep.
questions and with other staff and go from there. And I just want to thank you again and thank all the staff members. Thank you for coming in. It really means a lot. And it's very informative. And like Jamie, I could have, spent another hour trying to figure some of this out. It's really good stuff. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move forward. Personnel items.
First we have resignations, and I have a few extras to add. But first one is Sarah Gagnon, who was our ELL teacher. I'd like to thank her for 3 years of service to the district. Sydney Osterhout, grade 3 teacher at Fisher Mitchell, 2 years here in the district. Caitlin Rush, an Ed Tech 2 at Dyke Newell, 2 years. And then the ones that didn't make the list because of timing, Maria Miner has been with us for 9 years, and she's taught health at BMS as well as at Morse. Lauren Carroll, who's taught science at Morse High School for 11 years. And Dawn Dill, who is Dyke Newell school nurse, has been with us for 8 years. So I'd like to thank all of them.
All right. And so that's for resignation. And then we have action item. These are folks that looks like we're.
Yeah, so next we have the nominations, and it's, I'll go through each one of them quickly, and you can take them as a group if you're comfortable. First one is technology integrator. Bob Jordan retired, so we have our nomination is Roman Quinn, and we had 9 applications. We interviewed 5, and Roman actually, this is a unique one because he's the current STEM teacher at Bath Middle School for this school year. So he's our nomination for tech integrator. Then for English teacher and drama instructor at Morse High School, we had 24 applications, interviewed 4 people, and our nomination is Sarah Coleman. And she currently is the director of Ovations Offstage School and Family Programs at Portland Ovations. And she's also been a history, social science, English teacher, and arts faculty at Hebron Academy as well. Then we have school counselor here at Morse, and the recommended candidate is Molly Ellis. And we had 11 applications for guidance and interviewed 3 people. And she's currently the school counselor at Auburn Middle School. And then the last one we have for tonight to nominate is Neil Larrabee for our automotive instructor at Bath Tech. We had 1 application. We interviewed 1 person, but Neil is very qualified. You can tell from the education certification here. And so we're pleased to nominate him for this position. That's it.
Great. All right. Thank you, Patrick. Any questions on any of these staff? Yeah, go ahead, Lauren.
Patrick, you were mentioning Miss Ellis for MHS, but she's a middle school counselor right now. So this is a Morse High School. She's coming into Morse High School, but she's
currently a middle school counselor.
She's currently a middle school counselor. Okay. Yep. This is for guidance.
Yes, guidance counselor.
Okay.
Yes, Jen.
I just a question for the Morse English teacher. Is this covering classes because John is doing yoga now?
No.
No, this is Kevin O'Leary, retirement for English and drama.
Can you just tell me, so if a person comes from middle school as a guidance counselor or a counselor, it just seems like 2 different things. Can you just educate me on that?
Yeah, I mean, Eric can come up too, but I mean, their certification is K to 12.
Okay.
And so a guidance counselor could have,
I didn't know that.
could move, as far as certification goes, but obviously it's, there's some unique differences between levels, but I don't know if you want to add
Okay.
more.
Yeah, I would say there's a lot of similarities, and then there's some differences. The transition to high school is different than the transition to the rest of their life, so that's where there's some differences. This particular candidate does have some background in that as well, and I feel pretty confident about this. So, yeah.
Okay, any other questions on personnel? All right, can we take this all at once? Can I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the candidates
Okay,
nominations.
moved by Lauren and seconded by Meg. Any other further discussion? All in favor? Great, thank you very much. That passes, and we'll move on to 11.4, the awesome course proposal of the science of cooking.
So Eric, do you want to come back up to the mic? You're better to answer any questions, but again, the first one is just that the board, hopefully would approve the course proposal for science of cooking, which is an elective for next year, correct?
Correct.
Yep.
And I don't know if John Wilson, who will be the teacher of this, is still on, and maybe possibly not. But this,
I am here.
well, it'd be an elective course that would count as a science credit, a year-long course. Mr. Wilson has, in addition to being passionate about science, he's also passionate about cooking and the science behind it, sort of as side projects in his room. He often has things fermenting, different vinegars going, and something he's been, I guess, kicking around the possibility of doing this. And there's some life science involved in it, also physical science. And Mr. Wilson is on here, so maybe I should turn it over to him at this point.
You guys hear me? Am I coming through?
Yes.
Yeah, so as you said, this has been a project I've been kicking around for a couple of years, and it's kind of an interesting integration of both life and physical science, really. And also, we can probably tie in a lot of other things, considering that Ms. Nichols has the bees going, and we can tie in ecology. So it's kind of a multifaceted third-year science for students that are looking for maybe not how to cook, but why it all works, and kind of incorporating the chemistry and the physics and the different biochemical reactions. So kind of a multifaceted approach that kind of hits a lot of points in the science realm.
Yeah, that sounds fascinating. Anybody have some questions from Jonah?
Hi, a couple questions. Firstly, I see that there's a different curriculum between the fall and the spring. Would it be a full year class, or would students have the opportunity to do just one semester?
You can go both ways about it. You can sign up and take both semesters. It's going to be kind of tied around seasonal ingredients. That's kind of why we split it. So it could be for the person that's looking for an entire year, or they can jump in and do one semester if they want to mix and match with some of the other science electives.
And in terms of graduation requirements, would this be an appropriate substitute for your traditional core science classes like a biology or an earth systems? Or is this more of, like they say, like the science experience on the...
Yeah, so to start, it's more of that kind of third year for students that aren't necessarily looking to approach like the physics or one of the APs. But as time goes on, it can be evolved. That's the beauty of this class, is we have so many different projects that we could do, and it's kind of can be student led, so we can kind of adapt new projects as they come along.
So, and just to add to that, our practice is that students take ecology and earth systems as well as biology. So that encompasses 2 years, and then a third year experience, at least 1/3. You know, they could have much more, but this could be that third year.
So instead of like a physics or chemistry?
Correct. Yeah. Or in addition to.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, Natalie?
How much math is going to be involved in the class?
Well, as far as math goes, it will lean more into practical aspects of math, a lot of graphing, like
for example, looking at growth rates in yeast versus sourdough starters, so we can actually plot those kind of things using statistics. I wouldn't say it would lean too heavy into the higher order maths, like we won't approach the calculus realm, but we'll definitely be incorporating a lot of statistical analysis and things like that.
Okay, great. Any other? Yeah, Lorna?
I noticed the prerequisite is CP algebra. This does seem to be a great class that would maybe kids who want that more kind of practical hands-on experience. Has there been any talk of applied algebra, or are you just you feel most comfortable starting out with a CP algebra as a prerequisite?
Yeah, we wanted to start with that just so that really what's going to happen with this, I've had a lot of interest with it. We definitely want somebody that's been through eco and earth systems, and somebody that's gone through biology and has some of those kind of higher order science skills. And then with the CP algebra, when I can set them down, they can jump right in. They can do line graphs, scatter plots, things like that. So just kind of having that higher math functioning order.
Great. Go ahead, John.
Sorry, this is probably in pretty high demand. Is there going to be like a vetting process, or like, I don't know. I know like classes like yearbook sometimes have that kind of application sort of.
Yeah, I would say that when we introduce electives in general, they tend to be in high demand, and in those cases, oftentimes what we have to do is look at opportunity to take the class. So and look at, well, anybody who's not going to be here next year, this is their only opportunity. So maybe start with the older students, and then work down from there. So.
Great. Go ahead, Jen.
The materials listed on the back page are those materials we already have?
Not all of them, no. We're attempted to pre-purchase some in anticipation of this, but some materials we do have as a typical science class, but we are going to make some purchases.
You'll need
as well.
some specifics.
Could you use the like in a Votech school? Can you use that equipment or not?
I wouldn't feel comfortable now saying that I could use their equipment, but I think Mr. Wilson has had some initial conversations with Culinary Arts and what they could use. Of course, that's a commercial kitchen, which students and staff are Serve Safe certified. So it might not be a complete, they can just jump in and use it even when they're not using it, but some equipment might be helpful.
So there will be a cost to purchase equipment, but not a cost for additional instruction, right?
Correct. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And it wouldn't, we can run this next year under the current proposed budget. We don't need to, we're not looking for other avenues at this point.
Great. Go ahead, Natalie.
What's the academic commitment to the class? I know it was mentioned that it's a 3rd or 4th year science, but is it more like a financial math where all of the work's done in class with class discussions, or is it more like an honors and an AP class where there's going to be a lot of out of class homework?
That's a good question.
Well, the kind of view of it is that there will be some classroom instruction, and then outside of class, there'll be research on some of the kind of experiments, the recipes that we're going to do, and then having the block kind of scheduling so we can kind of set it up where it's lecture, research, and then kind of the practical science lab. So I think it's going to be a good mix. It's going to be a lot of research and discussion.
But there's not an additional lab section.
No,
like
no.
Biology
our only additional lab sections now with our new schedule are just the 2 AP sciences that we're currently running.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great. Any other questions, Mr. Wilson? No? Okay, so this is an action item, correct? So I need a motion for this.
I'll make a motion to approve the new elective, the science of cooking.
Great. Can I have a second? Second by Jamie. All in favor? Great. It passes. Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you.
All right. That's exciting. Where are we at? Then next one is the consider awarding, might as well just stay up here. Awarding a state set minimum graduation diploma, also in action. So do you just, I think we've all read through it. You just want to,
And I'll give a brief overview.
Yeah, I can give a brief overview. I think everybody on the board is familiar that we've set a exception to our graduation policy for the past 2 years due to COVID and the educational repercussions that it has had on our students. I am proposing that we extend this for 1 more year, although the access to school has certainly been much greater this year than we've seen in the last 2. One thing that was anticipated, but maybe not to the fullest extent that we've experienced, is the social emotional repercussions. On top of all of these students had the interruptions that we had in past years. So I put some numbers in the I think made it into the board packet of the amount of students who would be able to earn their diploma using the state minimum requirements. And I think that it would be beneficial for us to continue this year. I would say that the students, it's shifted a little bit of how I guess the students who would benefit from that and how in the amount of accrued credits. But I also think that it's a need at this point. So I'll certainly answer any questions outside of what I provided in the packet. So
sure. Are there any questions regarding it? Jonah, go ahead.
Since the beginning of 2020, the state standard for graduation hasn't changed since the COVID-19 pandemic.
correct. Yeah. Yep. Nor has our graduation requirements. Yep.
Okay. Jennifer, you had a question?
Yeah, this goes back a little while. I'm trying to think of the right words, but is there a certificate of completion versus a diploma? Did there used to be something else that we could give versus the Morse diploma?
Yeah, in proficiency-based, there was a lot of talk of a certificate of completion.
Yeah.
And then with local control, different districts look at that differently. The current graduation policy didn't shift with proficiency-based education at the RSU1 level, as I remember it. So that's a long answer of no, we don't have a participation certificate.
So it's just a diploma or not a diploma?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we are making the distinction when if a student goes in this direction, that's what it would say on their diploma.
Yeah, the diploma will look different.
Right.
Now, they will march with their class, graduate with their class, but it wouldn't be a Morse diploma that they'd receive in that jacket.
Okay.
It would be issued through RSU1 and noted that it's a state minimum diploma from RSU1. However, it is a high school diploma. It would give them the same
Ability to
benefits.
check that box in applications and things like that.
They will be a high school graduate. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any students that are, I know we get to this point in the year, we're trying to make sure everyone gets their credits. Are
Yes.
you particularly concerned, even with this new kind of diploma, that we'll have some kids squeaking?
This time of the year, I'm always concerned. So yes, we do have some students who are involved in some pretty significant academic remediation after school right now. And we've done that in the past couple of years. Again, that's evolved. And this year it really was surrounding English, and it's that 4 years of English, whether you're going for a state minimum or you're going for the Morse diploma, it's the one area that you need 4. And so this year it actually was everybody who we really were concerned with needed that English. So we've really centered it around the English, 2 hours a day after school remediation to get to the finish line. We've had some success in the last couple of weeks, and we're hopeful that group of students will finish strong.
Thank you.
Great. Any other? Yeah, Jamie, go ahead.
One clarifying question, and I think I know the answer. The jacket itself, though, looks exactly the same.
It's exactly the same.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Good. All right. So with that, may I have a motion? You're on a roll, Lauren. Go for it.
I'll make a motion to approve the main state minimum graduation requirements.
Great. That's and second with Meg. All right. Any further discussion? Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Could we amend that to just for 1 year, or clarify that it's just for this year, right? This isn't what we're putting in place a permanent thing.
No, my proposal was for this year. Yeah, not to say that I wouldn't, but I don't want
You
to
would
jump
do
the
it
gun
1
on
year at
any
a
of that.
time. Is how
Yeah.
you've been approaching it,
Yeah.
right? So so how do I do it? Is it amended? No, you don't need to. We're fine. Okay. He's just looking for this year. All right. So with that understanding, all in favor? Great. We're all in favor and none opposed. So it passes. Thank you, Eric. And we are good. Moving on, we have the first reading of board policies. There's no action. It's the JLCD, administration of medication to students, the JLCDE, the medication administration on school field trips, off-campus events, JLCB, immunization requirements for students entering RSU1 schools, and JLCC, the communicable infectious diseases. I sense a theme there. So those are, does anyone have any initial questions about any of those? Yeah, go ahead.
Patrick, you don't need to go through it now, but which ones, before we get into the action and the discussion next time, which ones are new and which ones are existing but just tweaking? Because I know, like, I think for one, there's medication that we probably have never administered before. And again, we don't need to debate it tonight. I just, let me see if I can tell you. I should have been prepared for that.
No, I can send you guys out an email, but if
Yeah.
you take JLCD, the first one, if you look at the end of that policy, it was, adopted in 2017, revised
Oh,
in
right.
the 2018, and now again,
Okay.
there's, I'm trying to think. So, and other policy members, please, speak up, but that collaborative practice agreement was what was focused on by our nurses who came to the meeting to talk about this. And that is something that our nurses will be working with Dr. Hannah on collaborative practice agreements, which could be anything from, an EpiPen to something else, so that we have those agreements in collaboration with Dr. Hannah. So,
Okay.
but yeah, usually you can find those at the end of the policies, but I can follow up on that
I
too.
can look through them.
It's
I
all right.
hadn't really thought of that most obvious answer.
No,
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
Great. Any other questions on these policies? All right, so we'll be taking action next time on that. And so now we're just at next meeting dates. Just a reminder, the next week from tomorrow, right? Tuesday, May 31st, here at the high school will be the budget meeting. First one we're holding here, right? Yeah, first in person.
Yeah, and we'll get something out to the board this week. Deb's been doing a lot of work on, the management summary, we call it, so that we're organized for that evening. And we will, our plan right now is to have it in the auditorium, because we don't have to set up chairs and try
That
the
makes
auditorium, see how that works. So,
Great. And then our regular board meeting will be after graduation and all that fun stuff, and school close will be June 27th here at 6 o'clock. Motion to adjourn. Jamie? And we got 2 seconds. Megan, now you're getting enthusiastic. Yes, all in favor? Thank you all very much for your time and efforts.